Hey everyone! We are working to hit 1,000 subscribers and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy the content and it is your first time here, please hit that subscribe button right now as we proceed. The Toronto Blue Jays just dropped a series of bombs that have the entire baseball world spinning, and trust me when I say this, you're not going to believe what just went down. We've got roster shakeups, injury revelations that will make your jaw hit the floor, and comments from players that have fans absolutely losing their minds on social media right now. If you thought spring training was going to be smooth sailing for Toronto, think again, because the drama is already at a fever pitch and we haven't even reached opening day yet. Let's get straight to the nuclear bomb that just exploded in Blue Jays Nation. Anthony Santander, the guy they signed to a massive contract to be one of their cornerstone power hitters, just opened the door to the possibility of missing the entire 2026 season. Yes, you heard that right. The entire season. This is the same player who was supposed to bounce back from a disappointing first year in Toronto, the same guy who was brought in to anchor the middle of the lineup and provide consistent power production. And now? He's openly discussing the very real possibility that he might not play a single game this year. Let me paint you the picture of just how catastrophic this situation has become. Santander went under the knife for shoulder surgery after dealing with a torn labrum, and the recovery timeline has been nothing short of a nightmare. During his comments to the media, Santander revealed something absolutely stunning. He's hoping the Blue Jays are winning games early in the season so he can take his rehab slower and build up strength properly. But then he dropped this gut punch of a line. If it doesn't work, obviously the other option is to wait until next year. But I hope it doesn't go that way. Wait until next year? Are you kidding me right now? This is a guy making serious money, a guy who was supposed to be a difference maker, and he's already planting the seeds for potentially sitting out the entire season. Blue Jays fans must be absolutely beside themselves right now. The contract that looked questionable after year one is now aging like milk left out in the summer sun. And we're only in February. But here's where the story gets even more complicated and frankly, more frustrating for everyone involved. Santander revealed that mid-season MRIs in 2025 did not show the tear in his labrum. That's right, the imaging didn't pick it up initially. So he and the Blue Jays medical staff made the decision to go the rehab route instead of surgery. They thought they could manage it, work through it, get him back on the field. But when Santander ramped up his hitting workouts this winter, something felt wrong. Really wrong. When they did follow-up MRIs, boom, there it was. A torn labrum that required surgical intervention. Now, before everyone starts pointing fingers and playing the blame game, Santander made it clear that he's doing everything in his power to get back on the field. He said, "Unfortunately, things happen that are not in your control. I know some people think differently, but I know who I am. I know I'm trying my best to be on the field with my teammates." That comment about "some people think differently" is fascinating because it suggests there's been some chatter, some noise, some criticism directed at him about his injury situation. Whether that's fair or not is debatable, but clearly it's gotten under his skin enough that he felt the need to address it publicly. Here's the brutal reality for the Toronto Blue Jays. They're staring down the barrel of a potential disaster with this contract. If Santander misses all of 2026, that's essentially 2 wasted years of a 5-year deal. And let's not forget there's a potential lockout looming in 2027, which could complicate matters even further. So we could be looking at a scenario where Santander doesn't see meaningful playing time until 2028, which would be year 4 of his contract. That's an absolutely devastating return on investment, and it's the kind of thing that can haunt a front office for years. The timing couldn't be worse either. The Blue Jays went out and acquired Jesus Sanchez to help fill the outfield void, but that was supposed to be a depth move, not a full-time starter replacement. Now they're looking at an outfield rotation of George Springer, who's getting older by the day, Nathan Lukes, who's a solid defender but limited offensively, Sanchez, who's still unproven in a larger role, and Miles Straw, who we all know about. The current projections have Santander at a whopping 2% playing time in left field. 2%. That's not a rotation, that's barely a cameo appearance. But wait, there's more drama to unpack today, because the Blue Jays also made some roster moves that have people scratching their heads. They claimed Ben Cowser off waivers from the Cubs, and in a corresponding move, placed right-handed pitcher Bowden Francis on the 60-day injured list. Let's talk about Cowser first, because this is an interesting gamble that could either look smart or head-scratching depending on how things play out. Ben Cowser is what you'd call a glove-first infielder with some intriguing secondary skills. His offensive numbers at AAA last year were not pretty, slashing just 235/300/371 with a 71 WRC+, which means he was hitting 29 points below league average. Those are not the kind of numbers that get you excited about offensive production. But here's the catch: the dude can fly. He stole 18 bags in 26 attempts, which is a pretty solid success rate and shows he's got legitimate speed that can be weaponized in the right situations. The Blue Jays are clearly valuing versatility and defense with this move. Cowser can play multiple infield positions, which makes him a valuable depth piece that can be shuffled around depending on what the team needs on any given day. John Schneider loves these types of players, guys he can move around the diamond like chess pieces. Remember how Miles Straw got used last year? Cowser could follow a similar blueprint, being that emergency call-up from AAA when injuries inevitably strike during the long season. Now, some of you are probably thinking, why claim a guy hitting below league average in AAA? Fair question. But context matters here. Cowser was ranked as the Cubs' 14th best prospect by Baseball America heading into 2025, so there's obviously some talent and projection there that scouts and evaluators see. Plus, his 2024 season showed some real pop with OPS numbers that ranged from 829 to over 900 with different teams, so the offensive tools aren't completely absent. He's only 25 years old, which means he's still in that developmental window where improvement is definitely possible. The real value Cowser brings is defensive flexibility and speed on the base paths. The Blue Jays' infield depth looks decent on paper with guys like Ernie Clement, Leo Jimenez, and David Schneider able to move around, but you need true defensive specialists who can come in and lock down positions without making you nervous. Cowser can be that guy. Whether he's filling in at second base, shortstop, or third base, he's not going to embarrass himself with the glove. And in tight games late in the season where every play matters, that's incredibly valuable. The corresponding move of placing Bowden Francis on the 60-day IL is less surprising but still significant. Francis is going to be out for a significant chunk of time, which further thins out the pitching depth that the Blue Jays are going to need to navigate through a grueling AL East schedule. But that's a conversation for another day. Now, let's shift gears to some more positive news, because not everything coming out of Blue Jays camp is doom and gloom. Kazuma Okamoto, the big Japanese slugger they signed this offseason, is apparently making quite the impression. Manager John Schneider had some fascinating comments about Okamoto's approach in spring training, saying his work has been very serious and somewhat manly, which is a reference to Okamoto's own joking comments about his manly approach to the game. By all accounts, Okamoto is fitting in fantastically with the team culture. He's been pulling balls with authority, already launching home runs that have Vlad Guerrero Jr. joking around about whether they actually cleared the fence. The early returns suggest that Okamoto is going to be a real factor in this lineup, which is desperately needed considering the Santander situation. The big question everyone's asking is whether Okamoto can replicate the production that Bo Bichette provided before he left. One for one? Probably not, because those are different players with different skill sets. But if Okamoto can be a 25 to 30 home run guy who drives in 85 to 90 runs while playing solid defense, that's a massive win for Toronto. And if other players like Vlad, George Springer when he's healthy, and Jesus Sanchez can step up their games, this offense might have enough firepower to compete despite the Santander disaster. The Blue Jays are at a fascinating crossroads right now. On one hand, they've got exciting new pieces like Okamoto showing promise, depth additions like Cowser providing insurance, and a rotation that should be competitive. On the other hand, they're potentially facing a season without one of their highest-paid players, dealing with lingering questions about health and durability across the roster, and trying to compete in arguably the toughest division in baseball. Make no mistake, the Anthony Santander situation is going to hang over this team like a dark cloud until we get some definitive answers. Can he come back mid-season and contribute? Will he need to shut it down completely and focus on 2027? Did the Blue Jays medical staff mishandle the initial injury diagnosis and treatment? These are questions that demand answers, and fans deserve transparency about what's really going on. The contract situation is what makes this so painful. This was supposed to be Santander's redemption season after a disappointing first year. Instead, we're talking about the very real possibility of him missing the entire year. For a team trying to compete for a playoff spot in a ruthless division, losing that kind of firepower is absolutely devastating. Every at-bat matters, every home run matters, and the Blue Jays just lost a potential 30-home run bat for possibly the entire season. As we move through spring training and inch closer to opening day, all eyes will be on Santander's rehab progress. Every update, every bullpen session, every swing he takes will be scrutinized and analyzed for signs of whether he can beat these odds and get back on the field. Blue Jays fans are holding their breath, hoping for good news but preparing for the worst. So what do you think about this absolute mess? Do you blame Santander for the injury situation, or do you think the Blue Jays medical staff mishandled things? Can Okamoto and the new additions make up for Santander's absence? Is claiming Ben Cowser a smart depth move or a waste of a roster spot? Drop all your thoughts in the comments below because I want to hear from you. This is a developing story that's going to have major implications for the entire season. If you found this breakdown valuable and want to stay on top of every twist and turn in this wild Blue Jays season, smash that subscribe button right now. Hit the like button if you think this Santander contract is turning into a disaster. And turn on notifications so you don't miss a single update as this saga continues to unfold. The baseball season is almost here, and trust me, you don't want to miss what happens next with this team. Let's go!